Hi everybody, happy Firework Friday. This is Charlie Comiskey from Lights on Waverly, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about this thing over here, the Firework Star. This was a pretty cool 3D print build that I have been working on for the past couple of months. I want to share a little bit of details with everybody. This is going to be a two-part video. The first part, which is happening right now, is how to go and build one of these Firework Stars. I'll follow up a little bit later on with another video on how to configure and make the most of it in X-Lights and be able to run it and do all sorts of really cool effects from it. I've got my videos out on the Lights on Waverly YouTube channel. If you look in the backstage section, you will find them. Do remember to subscribe to be able to get advance notice of videos as they come available. So one of the things I really liked about this when I first saw them was it was just the mesmerizing coolness. Somebody posted a video on it a couple of years ago, and as best I could tell, you got a porcupine fish attractor ball, and I got one really quick. I wanted to figure out, how could I go on and use it. One of the other things that was a bit challenging with it was, aside from that one video, is I've really struggled to find anything. What is its name? Some people called it the firework prop. Some people called it a porcupine star. And there's a really cool project called the Electric Dandelion. For this project, I settled on Firework Star. I'm hoping everybody will be able to find that easy enough. I was also kind of curious, how do you go about building this type of thing? And aside from it having a porcupine fish finder, there really wasn't a whole bunch of details. And then further, how do you go about modeling it? There was a lot of mystery behind this. So I looked all around and found a bunch of different build varieties. And I found, there's really a whole bunch of choices here. There's some people like doing 3D printed balls. I talked a little bit about the porcupine fish attractor. There was even somebody who went and was doing their prop with a styrofoam ball. I don't know if that was necessarily the best way of doing it for the spokes, but there was a lot of choices. When it came to spokes, people would use strip lights or meteor tubes. There's a bunch of people that actually do pixels on PVC pipe, whether drilled holes or zip tied to it. And then from a modeling perspective, there seemed to be a fair amount of consensus on using spinner models. There was reference to 3D models, but nobody seemed to have anything posted. So I started asking myself, could this be better? I liked some of the effects, but I was wondering, could you do something more with it? The decor appeal, I wasn't as keen on kind of the chunky look of some of the PVC pipe. I was hoping for something that was a little more streamlined looking. For nighttime visibility, I was looking for something that really felt good, that whatever angle that you're looking at it, that you'll clearly be able to see all the lights. I saw a video on somebody doing an assembly of one with PVC pipes, and it looked pretty complex. So I was wondering, is there a way to simplify the assembly? And then further, how do you go about storing this? This kind of goes along with the simplified assembly. I need to be able to take it, put it together, and easily take it down. Be able to make it a little bit easier to be able to store some of these things. I'm in process of building my third one. I don't have a whole bunch of room to be able to store them in the off season, so I need to be able to get these things kind of tight and compact. Ultimately, I was thinking that this is an awful lot that you're hanging from a tree branch. And most of my trees don't have really thick branches. So I was a little bit concerned about weight. I wanted to see if something that could be done. Finally, somebody mentioned, well, could this be improved with 3D printing? And I thought, that's a pretty neat idea. For the Firework Star, I ended up selecting two different types of hubs to model. I did the first one with the porcupine fish attractor, and then right now I'm also currently building a 3D print design by UK Dell. It's the Spikey sphere, and that's available on Thingiverse. For spokes, I decided to do something a little bit different, and I decided to do pixels on round stock. The round stock in this case is fiberglass, which means it is really pretty lightweight. For models, I ended up doing a custom 3D model because in my initial experiences with the spinners just didn't work out really well, and I thought I might be able to get a little bit more from the build if I developed a unique 3D custom model. So for considerations, these props can get big, like upwards to over 4 feet in diameter when you have 24-inch spokes. So you have to really think about where are they going to be placed. Even if you're going to put them into a tree, how are you going to get them up into the tree? Because the spokes might bump against some of the branches as you hoist it up to the particular area. You'll want to think about, is it going to be mounted or hung? You can hang it from a tree, but as you can see here from a picture, you can also mount it onto a pole and use it like that. You're going to want to pick your hub stop. You might want to pick the 3D print design if you want to go that way, or you can also pick the porcupine fish attractor. Both will work perfectly fine. You're going to have to determine some of your pixel string specs. We'll talk a little bit more about that here soon. And then you're going to need to consider material sourcing. And an example here is the porcupine fish attractor. I understand is rather pricey to procure if you need to purchase it outside of the United States. You're also going to want to think a little bit about mounting. There's examples of pole mounting. From a hanging perspective, I had a whole bunch of fun with this. The 3D print flavors. You can do a basket style and you wrap some string around it and be able to hang it up. Or you can sacrifice one of the spoke holes and put an eye bolt in it and hang it kind of like an ornament. And similar for the porcupine ball, they've got a hole already drilled into it, so you can do kind of the side mount. Or you can drill a couple more holes and do like a 4-point mount, kind of like a hanging basket. So before we go too much further, let's talk a little bit about hub styles and the geometry. Effects displayed on the ball tend to either be done as spinner based or in a kind of a full 3D base because of the 3D custom model. The spinners are the easiest way to be able to kind of visualize it, and that kind of makes sense. How do you go about modeling it? You do a bunch of spinners. But what I also learned with this is when it comes time to do the physical spoke assembly, it's much better done in a spiral order. My first prototype of this, I assembled one in spinner order. So I went around the ball and then I moved a little bit, went around the ball again, and it went together easy. When it came time to take it apart, it did not come apart very well. I ended up with a big rat's nest of cables, and it took me a good half hour to be able to get the spokes untangled from one another and get the wires all straightened out. So it's really good to be able to do these things in a spiral order. What's nice about the custom model is it allows you to translate between the setup in spiral format as well as being able to do your effects in spinners. So when you look at the two different types of balls, you've got a porcupine ball, and what's important here to kind of visualize in your mind is it's going to have 26 spokes. At 25 if you want to sacrifice a spoke hole to be able to mount stuff. It's basically consists of 4 8-point spinners, which makes it fairly simple. In this case, it's got a common top and bottom spoke. The 3D printed ball, based on the Spikey sphere, has up to 32 spokes. Now this one will be kind of interesting because it's going to have 3 sets of 8-point spinners and 3 sets of 6-point spinners. So the effects are going to look a little bit different on it once it is when it's available and ready to go. Some of the secret sauce behind this project is something that I call the easy mount design. The first prototype I put together did not include this, and it took upwards of 30 minutes to be able to screw in all of the spokes for a particular spear. It was a bit of a challenge. So I came up with this bayonet style connector, and it works with either what I call the easy mount thread, which is a plug that screws into 3D print balls, or the easy mount plug, which fits into the porcupine balls. And it allows you to take the spoke and be able to push it into the connector, you turn it 90 degrees and it locks into place, and then you're good to go. It's really pretty simple to use. And one of the unique secret sauce items of this prop. One of the other things I talked about earlier was I went with pixels zip tied onto round stock. What's nice about this is it maximizes the visibility of the pixels. I thought about trying to print clips for each one of the pixel lights and opted against that because for a 26 spoke hub at 10 lights, that would be 260 printed pieces to be able to attach onto spokes. It got a little overwhelming, and the zip tie method works pretty well, and you can get the pixels secured nicely and securely. It was just a simpler way of doing it. So when you do these rods, you're going to want to look at having 10 pixels per spoke. And then this will help ensure that it'll work with the X-Lite custom models that I'll be sharing along with this project. Dimensionally accurate fiberglass rods will be needed for this, whether you use a 3/16 diameter fiberglass rod or a 5 millimeter diameter fiberglass rod. You'll want to make sure that you have dimensionally accurate. I've already had one person say, hey, how about this 3/16 rod? And from a big box store, but when I got one and I measured it, it was a little bit smaller than 3/16 and it just wouldn't work. So you really need dimensionally accurate fiberglass rods. I've shared a link here of a video if you want to see how I attach the pixels to a spoke. You're next going to have to do some spoke planning and pixel string planning. The first thing you're going to want to do is determine what kind of string type you want. You can either do a straight string where you've got your pixels, you have a length of 3/4 flat wire that goes from a set of 10 pixels to the next set of 10, and you just basically have a really long custom string. You can do that. There are some negatives to it. It entails a fair amount of soldering to be able to create the custom strings, or you're going to have to order a very custom string spec to be able to make that happen. The little easier way when it comes to the pixels is you can order some icicle or pea stake style lights. They work pretty well. I am a little concerned that with the 4 wires in the icicle piece lights or pea stake lights configuration, that if you have a problem within one of the spokes, you're probably going to want to just go on and replace the whole spoke. So there's pros and cons to either way, but you're going to want to pick one of them. Next item, pixel to pixel distance. I've tried this with 4-inch and as well as the 3-inch. The 4-inch distance works out best. And you can see here in the picture, when you secure the pixels onto the spoke with zip ties, you just basically fold the wire over and over again, and it fits nicely. Once you have all the pixels installed with the wire kind of folded over upon each other, your pixel to pixel distance is really about 2¼ inches. Finally, when you order your strings, I would suggest ordering strings of 6 spokes. So that will be a total of 60 pixels per string. And then depending upon the type of hub you pick, whether it be the porcupine ball or the spiky sphere, and then depending upon whether you're going to use all 26 or 32 of the spokes or something a little bit less to be able to mount it on a pole or with an eye hook. You can have the 6 spoke strings, create a couple of 1 spoke strings to go along with it, and it'll make it easy to be able to put it together. I would recommend not trying to do a full string of either 25 or 26 spokes or 31 or 32 spokes. You're probably going to have power issues, and when you have to try to put together spokes with that many pixels, it gets to be really challenging. So it's better to kind of break them up into some smaller strings. So if you take a planning example here, let's say we wanted to use a porcupine ball, and further let's just say that the ball will be hung using pre-drilled holes. And let's say, for example, here that the straight string lights are the lights that you would prefer. In this scenario, you're going to have 26 spokes. The length of each one of these spokes will be 24 inches. You'll want to have 4 strings of 6 spokes of 60 pixels each. You're going to want to have two 1-spoke strings, and then you're going to have nearly 60 feet of 3-core flat wire. And then what you'll do is you'll cut the pixel strings into 26 lengths of 10 pixels each, and you'll solder them to the lengths of the 3-core wire to be able to put that together. Another example is, let's say you're going to do a 3D print ball, and the ball will be mounted to a pole, and let's say further, for example, that you want to use icicle lights. In this scenario, you'd end up needing 31 spokes of 24 inches in length. You'd want to have 5 strings of 6 spokes of 60 pixels each, and then you'd want to have one final string of 10 pixels on a spoke. What's nice with this further is off season, you can do some Velcro straps or kind of tie them together, and this thing stores up and is really pretty compact and efficient. So to kind of conclude on this stuff, could the build be better? Yes, and I think it was pretty successful. The decor appeal is approved. It's got a nice clean appearance when you look at it during the daytime. At night, you get a lot of visibility because you really just have the pixels and the little bit of round stock. It simplifies the assembly. I put together one of the Firework Stars in just over 3.5 minutes. So it makes it really easy to be able to put together and take apart with the easy mount plug design. For storage, it's got a really small profile. And it's portable too. I've taken mine on vacation, so it's easy to pack up and use and store. Storage is definitely one of the nice points of this configuration and design. And then surprisingly, this thing actually weighs a little bit less than if you were to use PVC pipe. When I did the calculations, it was going to be approximately a ½ pound less in weight than a PVC equivalent. And now it's time to cover what parts you'll need to build a Firework Star. Listed here is a bill of materials. There are a number of parts to the left that you will need. Some parts are specific to the porcupine ball. Others are specific to the spiky sphere. A copy of this is included with the PDF file of this presentation. The Firework Star project is loaded on Thingiverse. You can see pictures here of each of the parts that are included as part of the build. There's a table that includes the various parts, and you can use this as a reference whether you're going to do a 3D print ball or a porcupine ball. A PDF of this presentation and extended build instructions will be available with the Thingiverse project. The Firework Star also works with the Spikey sphere. This is a project offered on Thingiverse by UKDOW. It is a project designed for lighting decorations and can either be used in a pixel ball configuration using the provided pixel thread that comes with the Spikey sphere project, or you can of course use it with Firework Stars using the easy mount thread. What's nice about this is it's compact, optimized, and it's easy to assemble. Here are the build instructions. There's a total of 7 steps. 2 of them may not be necessary. It depends upon how you want to build your Firework Star. When it comes time to print and prepare your 3D parts, when you print the 3D ball, make sure that you use an 18mm tap. While it's possible to use Cura and do hole expansion, you're going to get a much better fit if you use the 18mm tap. The second tip here is once you glue the pen springs into the easy mount parts, take some time, get a spoke end, and activate each of the easy mount parts several times, putting the spoke end in and then pulling it on out. What this does is this helps free up if there's any glue debris. It just makes it a lot easier to be able to install when it comes time for doing final assembly. Some lessons learned here. Print the easy mount parts upside down and you print them with supports. You can see an example here of one that was printed without supports, and basically you get a bunch of spaghetti within the keyhole area. The picture to the right is an example of printing a ball with the Cure's hole expansion. It will go together. You will end up having a gap between the two hemispheres. It's recommended that you use an 18mm tap. If you elect to assemble straight strings, this is where you will do them. There is a case for using old-fashioned soldering. What is nice about it is you can fold your wires more closely to the solder joint than what you might be able to do with solder sleeves. And it gives a cleaner appearance than what you would get compared with Scotch locks. When it comes time to prepare the spokes, make sure that after you've cut each spoke, sand the ends to take off the edge. This will make it easier as you poke the spokes into the easy mount parts. When it comes time to drilling the holes for the bayonet end, the holes need to be 18mm from the end. And when you drill the holes, make sure that you keep your drill bit short in the chuck. If you don't do this, the drill bit is going to want to drift and move off to the side. And you can see a picture example of a drill bit making it through the spoke, but really off to the side. That was a bad hole centering, and that spoke does not work within the easy mount. When it comes time to assemble the spokes, I suggest watching the video of how to string a spoke. While I do it with the straight string method, the same technique applies to icicle lights as well. When it's time to drill holes in the hub, and when you have the plug hole template attached to the porcupine ball, make sure that you aim it in a location that will be easy for you to be able to get a screwdriver in to screw the easy mount plugs into place. It is strongly recommended that you label your spoke holes. You can keep them simple, labeling 1 for top all the way down to the bottom number. The picture on the right displays both the spiral location as well as the spinner and spoke location. When it comes time to doing the assembly, start with the top position and then attach your spokes in a spiral all the way down. This is where having each one of the spoke holes labeled from 1 to the bottom, it makes it a lot easier to complete the assembly. And on a final note, when you're assembling your Firework Star, make sure that it's grounded on a carpet or some sort of non-smooth surface. The ball, especially when it has a bunch of pixels on all the spokes, starts to get heavy enough that the fiberglass rods are going to want to bend. I took a picture of one where the fiberglass rods were bending a little bit, and you can see that the fiberglass rod does not match up with the straight yellow line. Now, keep in mind, this is also a picture before I had put any pixels on the ball. My experience is when you add the additional pixels, they just want to flex a bit more than what you even see here. Let's demystify and build a community around these props. Hashtag your Firework Star messages using one of the 3 hashtags. This will give us the ability to search across Facebook groups and more easily be able to find information. So this concludes the first part of the build video. If you'd like, you can see some video examples of some prototypes running. I've got some links here to be able to see. The next video on this is going to cover how to set up X lights with the Firework Star. Once again, you can find the videos on Lights on Waverly, located in the backstage section. Please remember to go on and subscribe so you can get advance notice of the videos. Thank you very much, and happy Firework Friday.